Hello, everyone. It's Amanda, and welcome to Align You TV. And today we have the beautiful Mardi Winder-Adams, and she is an amazing divorce coach for women. So I'm going to get her to introduce herself in a moment. So, Mardi, we've known each other for a few months now, and we've been doing a few things together. And I know we have a lot of similar ideas on how women can progress after divorce and step into the woman that they truly are. So can you tell us a little bit more about your journey, how you got to this point, and why you just decided to serve that particular niche?
Well, thank you, Amanda. And I so enjoy the opportunity to be here and speak with you and your listeners. And I think because we have had conversations before, I do feel we have very much an alignment with where we're coming at this from. I think for myself, I went through my own divorce. About almost 30 years ago now. And it should have been such a simple process. And it really became a nightmare. And I'm not going to go in the details because it really doesn't matter what my experience was. But I think that formed that foundation that, divorce is not just a legal issue. If anything, the legal part of the divorce is really the easiest part because it's the one part that's laid out for you, right? I mean, there's things you can do and things you can't do. Everything else, especially how you're going to move forward after the divorce, is really up to you. And that's where I feel that going through the divorce and being successful, seeing yourself as successful in doing that, and maybe making some decisions and doing some things that aren't in your comfort zone can really set you up for a really good foundation for moving forward with life and creating that experience, whatever you want it to look like in the future. So that's always been my driving force in getting into this divorce coaching field.
And how long have you been doing this now?
I've been divorce coaching, interestingly enough, I've been divorce mediation. I've been doing divorce mediation since, the mid 1990s. And I stopped doing that because I just really didn't feel it was in alignment. It didn't give me the opportunity to really work with the clients. I mean, you're a complete neutral, which is what you're there to be doing when you're a mediator. But as a divorce coach, I can really focus on helping one client. And so I've been doing that since about 2015. And then I went through and did all my certifications and trainings and kind of got all my stuff up to speed, since 2015. So that's really been my focus.
And now we've worked together on the podcast, and you've gone into lots of different areas or touch points in order to get to those women that really need you. And I know it's a journey for all of us. In terms of the journey that you've gone through, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges that you've got over that you would want to share with the audience that might help them?
I think the biggest challenge for myself and for my clients is just understanding and putting into perspective how divorce fits into your life and your life story. Because when you're in divorce, it can feel so overwhelming and so like it's just taking over your life. And unfortunately, there's people that are in the divorce process, not for 6 months or 8 months, but 2 or 3 or 4 or more years. And then they finally get the divorce. And then they're going to look at another 2 or 3 or 10 years of post-divorce litigation if they're in a relationship with a highly toxic individual. And so that, I think the biggest obstacle is to help people understand that you have to prioritize you and your children through this process. And then you have to also prepare that divorce may not be that end that you think it's going to be to the problems. Or the flip side of that is that divorce process can be the springboard to create a very good relationship with that partner as a co-parent. And that's the ideal situation we want to have happen. But the divorce is not an end. It's a beginning. It's a transition point, and it's an opportunity to grow personally And if you want to expand it into your professional world, maybe to try something different, maybe to become an entrepreneur, or maybe to go back to school. Or there's so many things that divorce can offer if we just stop looking at it as a failure point in life.
I think that's really important, because a lot of ladies I work with, like you, that that the husband took a lot of responsibility for financial things, those kind of things, and they're kind of not necessarily under their wing, but kind of been blocked by them in a lot of ways. Their growth was stunted, and what I do find is once that happens, they are like, oh, I have to deal with everything now, so they have to grow and learn a lot of things very quickly. And the biggest thing they've got to learn is that it's okay to be on your own for a while, and you do everything you need is there. You just need to take that time for yourself, like you say, prioritize yourself and the children, but everything will work out. And it's not a failure, it's a massive learning, and you're a step closer to that relationship. If you do want another one, you're a step closer to the one that you want, and it is a big learning.
Yes, and I couldn't agree more. I am one of those people. So I've been through both the divorce in my past, and then the death of my second husband. And so both of those experiences, although they're very different, they propelled me forward to grow and to explore new things that I didn't know. For example, I am not a numbers person. I mean, I could balance a checkbook, and I could keep track of my credit cards. Like, I had that stuff, but I didn't know about like investing and what was the best option for me, like how to save money on taxes and all kinds of things. And through those two experiences, I put myself out there and I said, okay, I can either be at the or relying on a spouse or partner to do this for me, or I can get some basic knowledge on it myself. So again, it's like you're saying, you may have to go into areas where, like finances, where maybe that's not been your comfort zone before, and just you don't have to become an expert, but you need to know enough to hire the right professionals. And that's kind of where I'm at now. I've kind of learned what I need to know to hire the people that I trust to then take that on. And I just feel so much more confident through those experiences.
And I think one thing, when I went through my own experience, I mean, I was lucky because my mum brought me up to always have my own finances. So I had an Excel spreadsheet. I taught myself to do the Excel spreadsheet and made sure that my finances, we had a joint account, but I had my own separate finances, and I did save a fair amount, so that when it came to that point, I did have a leg to stand on. I did have a choice. I could go and rent. And that was very empowering, and managed to build myself up again. But I was very savvy because I'd already read, like 2 years before, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I was very well aware of how to get my money to work for me, what to invest in, and bought a property relatively quickly, after my own property separately after that. That ending.
And it's amazing how small little changes in the way that we think about finances, or that we think about investments, or that we think about planning for retirement. It's small little changes can have huge impact, over even just a few years. I'm over 60 now, and
don't look it. You look amazing.
Well, thank you. So I'm focused on, I never want to retire. I love what I'm doing. I love working with my clients. I plan on being one of those, 80-year-old people still on Zoom doing things.
Me too.
But I still want to be comfortable. And so, making that shift, dealing with the medical expenses for my second husband's care before he passed away, and all these kind of things. I mean, it took a little bit. It set me back. I'm not going to lie, it did. It set me back. But I'm back to where I was before, and well ahead of where I thought I would be, just by implementing a few simple changes. So yeah, it's amazing what we can do when we put our minds to it.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, when you put your mind to it, again, we both work in the kind of mental and emotional space. And the one thing I do say to ladies, look, at the end of the day, is you are one thought away from the life that you want. You've just got to make that thought, make that decision. And then, like you said, with the small actions, you're doing a little bit every day, and that really does build a new habit. But you've got to have that thought, the beginning. And the biggest one that I find, you probably find as well, is I'm not worthy.
Yes.
For our generation and the generation above us, women weren't worthy. We weren't worthy of anything. And so that's come down some of the generations. Once we reverse that, I am worthy, and I'm very bloody capable of doing lots of things. just that very small mindset shift makes a huge difference to them taking those first steps, or, you know, further steps down the line to really creating a life that they love, not just one that's surviving, especially in
Yeah.
today's society.
Well, and I always point this out, and I know we're in different countries. I'm Canadian, but based in the US right now. But one of the things I can say is, you know, it wasn't until 1975 that there was actually legislation that said that banks and credit cards companies and lenders can't not serve women because they don't have a male signature. You know, up until then, some credit card companies would give women credit cards, some wouldn't. You possibly couldn't even rent or purchase a property on your own as a separate individual if you were married. And if you were a single woman, you might have to have like a father or other male person. And so I'm thinking that was 1975. I think 1974, 1975. I could be off a year there. But, you know, it seems like such a long time ago, but it really wasn't all that long ago that this was happening. You know, it wasn't all that long ago that women couldn't get a divorce unless they were able to, or men. Divorces weren't possible unless you could prove your partner was, you know, had done a specific number of things. If not, you were just stuck in a relationship that was bad. And, you know, now at least there is that freedom that, you know, we don't have to prove our partner is abusive or unfaithful or, you know, has some other mitigating or some other factor that's causing the divorce. Now we can just say, yes, I want a divorce. And I want to, Amanda, if you don't mind, I want to say this before I go on to something else. Or I don't think that divorce is the answer for everybody. If you can stay married, I am so honored, and I am so I'm celebrating people who can be in healthy relationships and stay in them. And I wish that for everybody. I believe in love. I believe in all of those good things. But I also believe when it doesn't work, you should have a way to get out of it with dignity and without all of the cost and the emotional overwhelm that comes with a traditional divorce.
And I think that's a good point as well, because again, a lot of the clients that I deal with, in some cases, obviously they are married to a narcissist or somebody with literally borderline personality disorder. That's a really big one that comes up a lot now. And it is very difficult to navigate. But in some circumstances, as you know, a lot of it's just miscommunication. It's not understanding each other's love languages. And, you know, the partners have got to give each other space. It's give and take. And I think my generation did learn that it is give and take. The generation behind me, it's very much, well, if you're not giving me or making me feel the way I should do, then you're not the right person. And I think a lot of relationships blame the partner when they know it's actually them that's just reflecting back to themselves what they don't like or what they're not happy with. So whenever people come to me, I always say, hey, I actually mitigated between a couple 3 weeks ago. And I said, guys, look, you're concentric circles. This is you, and you meet in the middle and you do stuff together and it's fun. But if you're completely like this and not overlapping, then that's not really a relationship. And if you're over each other like this, then that's suffocation. So you've got to decide where your relationship boundaries are, and you have to know yourself first. You have to know yourself first. And if you're happy with yourself and you're kind with yourself, then 9 times out of 10, the communication can be worked out. Can it not,
Right.
Mardi?
Yes. And you know what? I think healthy relationships throughout the ages have recognized that. Maybe it wasn't articulated, and maybe people didn't talk about boundaries, and they certainly didn't talk about, you know, give and take and equal share of the responsibilities and stuff. But I think back to my mom and dad, and they were pretty traditional, you know, married. My dad was a police officer. My mom stayed at home, worked at a department store part-time when she could. So, you know, even then, like my parents, there was a shared expectation of household responsibilities and chores and times with the kids and stuff. It wasn't 50-50, but it was 60-ish, 40-ish. And they just worked together, you know, and I admire that with them. Now, they both passed away when I was very young, but I think they were a wonderful role model. But I know so many of my friends, it was a very opposite situation where, you know, man worked, woman stayed home, woman did everything, man just came home and, had a drink, had dinner, read the newspaper, watched TV. Like that was, and that's certainly not how I was brought up. So I think I had great role models.
I'm not far behind. My dad was in the military, so he did work all day. My mum did stay at home, but she was always doing stuff. She was making stuff and selling it. And then when I was 12, that's when she kind of went back out into the workforce. She was very happy to. She was an entrepreneur at heart. She was a Weight Watchers lecturer. She did all kind. She was coaching, actually. I thought about it the other day. She was actually coaching in the early 80s. We didn't call it coaching,
Right.
but she was I lost her obviously when I was 20, but I'm quite happy that I followed in her footsteps. But she was very strong. But my dad, I remember my dad cleaning, helping with the cooking. I would, because he was working, obviously he didn't do as much, but he was very willing. He didn't just, I don't remember, he can't sit still. So he was very much helping. And I chose a partner who also does the cooking, helps with the cleaning. It's very much, it's a partnership. We're a team, and we always say that.
And I think, like I say, those are the healthy relationships, and that always worries me when I see younger generations. Like I see, people in their 20s and 30s who have that very rigid sense of this is man's work, this is woman's work, and I'm thinking, where did you get that? Like that was not a date in the 50s. Like, what did you do?
Some old TV program somewhere. That reminds me of that film. Is it called Belleville? Not Belleville. It's a movie. It's in black and white, and then it goes color. It's like the man is like it's exactly like that. The woman comes home, and then everything starts to turn to color. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a really.
I think I've seen it, but it sounds cool.
I'll put it underneath the video. It's got Reese Witherspoon and the first Spider-Man in it. But I'm going to put it under here because it is fun to watch and see the role reversal and how the woman really does discover herself. So it's a great movie to watch for divorced women.
Well, it is. It sounds like it. I'm going to watch it for sure. So thank you.
Excellent. Well, Mardi, there's lots of different. I know you and I could spend hours here. In terms of the audience, for those people that are not just potentially divorced, but are going through relationship challenges that could potentially be leading down that road, what advice would you give them in terms of that analysis to make that decision? Is this something that I should go down? Is this something that I should really look at? Is there any kind of guidelines from all the women that you've worked with in terms of, should I get divorced? Should I not?
Right. So I think this is a very individual decision, Amanda, and I respect whatever my clients choose. As a coach, as you know, I don't tell people what to do. I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to take you back into your deepest, darkest secrets and why you're dating the man who's just like your father. That doesn't matter to me. But what I encourage people to do is, first of all, is there danger to yourself? Is there danger to your children? Because I think in those two situations, I do believe that people can change. So there is a possibility that if you are with a partner who is in any way abusive, whether that's emotional, financial, physical, spiritual, mental, whatever kind of abuse you may be experiencing, I don't necessarily think that abuser can never change. I think it's tough, and I think they really have to want to do it. But I also think you have to look after your safety and your children's safety first. So in that situation, I always advise people, make the decision, but before you do that, get out of that space, because we also know the most dangerous time for abuse victims is when they talk about leaving or decide to leave their partner. So that's my first priority. If there is any kind of abuse, that you are in a safe space and you know you're safe and your kids are safe, or as safe as you can make yourself. And that then you take the time to consider, is this a pattern? Is it a one-time issue? Were there mitigating circumstances? Was there alcohol or drugs involved? Is the person willing to give up those alcohol or drugs? So that being aside, if that's not your situation, I think it is important to stop and think, is this a rough patch, as my parents used to say that the relationship is going through? Or is this a long-term pattern where you're not feeling recognized, validated, supported, respected in the relationship? And then I do think it is important to ask yourself one question. And My friend Laura Richards, who also has a podcast, and she has several books out about being in a relationship with a narcissist and leaving them. She says her kind of number one question is, if that toxic partner or that partner does not change, will you be happy living with them for the rest of your life? Can you make it so that it works for you? And if you can honestly say, no, if it doesn't change, I can't stay, then I think you probably need to look at divorce if this is a pattern, because it's not likely that they're going to change. So I don't know if that's helpful, but I do think taking the time and really thinking about it, if you need to talk to a therapist, if you want to try couples therapy, all of those things are worthwhile trying. But I also think that if one partner already has one foot out the door, couples therapy is typically not effective. Most therapists will say that. So I think, again, you have to look at all of these factors. But having a conversation with somebody who can ask you those questions, not tell you what to do, but just ask you the questions to get you thinking, is sometimes the best way to go with when you're in that should I stay or should I go mode.
And obviously for some people that have transitioned through that and they are in the divorce process now, or they're divorced, again, I know for the people that I deal with, it really is a question of aligning to who they are. I'm all about alignment, as you know. So I think it's very important for them to take that step back, like you said, and really assess, okay, who am I? What do I really want? What makes me happy? So what advice would you give to those that are potentially just coming through the other side, that just learning to see themselves in that new post-divorce light?
Yeah, and that is so fantastic, because you and I both talk a lot with our clients about alignment. The first thing I think is to get comfortable being a single before you start looking for a new partner. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong with dating, going out, having a good time, whatever that looks like for you. But don't get into a serious relationship if you're looking for somebody to fill in something that's not already there for you. So spend time getting to know yourself, creating the life that you really want. Because as we talked about when we spoke on my podcast, when you have that, and you shared this very wisely, when you have that sense of who you are, you're gonna draw people that are attracted to you. If you're kind of only half a person, you really can't draw in the partner you want, because there's a gap in that. There's a gap in that matrix. If you want to go back to the movie, there's a blank spot on that screen. So I think you have to be comfortable with who you are, and you really have to know what you see for your future, because there's no point in getting into, well, I don't believe, my belief only, there's no point in getting into a relationship with somebody who has a very different version of the future than you have, because it may be a temporary good friendship, it may be a temporary love interest, but if they don't have the same long-term vision as you, how is that going to be a sustainable relationship? And I think you're setting yourself up for another relationship potential problem if you don't have that alignment with that partner.
Yeah, so you need to be really clear. I mean, I'm really lucky with my husband, because we've always looked in the same direction. We're both entrepreneurial in spirit, and I've followed him pretty much around the world. So I've just, I've decided, okay, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to follow. So I think it's getting that idea of, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is what we want to do together. But we've both changed tremendously in that time. We've been together 22 years. I've gone from this very straight-laced businesswoman to hypnotherapist, a little bit of woo-woo businesswoman. So he's embraced a lot of changes over that 22 years. And I do feel very lucky, because he does accept me. He's always accepted me for the way that I am. But I have spent the last 22 years trying to change him. No, I'm jesting. Just the odd thing, the odd male thing. But yeah, we're doing well so far. So I'm really pleased with that progress. Now, for those that are just coming out the other side, I know that you do have a gift for them that can help them in terms of building up their resilience. Do you want to just say a little bit about that, Mardi?
Sure. So I have a 28-day, it's an interactive journal. It's called the Resilience Building Blueprint. And what it is, it's kind of a combination of a guide, a gratitude journal, and a reflective journal, all sort of in one thing. And you can do it 28 days in a row, or you can do it once a week for 28 weeks, or you can do it whenever you feel like it. What it is it gives you an activity to do in the morning. And so then a blank space where you actually write down the activity that you did. And then it asks you after, at the evening, you come back and say, when I was doing that activity, how did I change how I felt about myself? So for example, one is go out and do a random act of kindness for somebody today, even if it's just holding open the door to the grocery store when you see somebody going in and smiling at them. So you write down what that experience was when you were actually doing it. And then you reflect back on how did that impact me as a person? What did I feel? How did that change how I experienced my day? And then it also asks you to list, 3 things you're grateful for and 1 thing that you feel really positive about during the day. So it just guides you through those things. And I'm one of those people that I look at a blank journal and I go, oh my God, what am I supposed to write about this page? I don't know. So I like the idea of prompts because it helps you just stay really focused.
Excellent. Well, we'll put the link down below this video so you'll be able to access that. And if you want to connect with Mardi, I'm going to put the link down there for you to be able to connect with her and her website, which is, I will put that down there as well. Her website is divorcecoach4women.com. So that's all her details. And I'll make sure if you want to connect with her, that'll be below. But before we head off, Mardi, is there one last thing that you'd like to share with the audience as a parting thought?
I think the thing that I'd like to share with your audience, Amanda, is first of all, thank you for listening to this. I so appreciate you taking time out of your busy days. But also, please don't think that divorce is a failure or divorce in any way reflects on you as an individual. It was a relationship. A relationship takes 2 to tango. It makes 2 to make it work. But it can take just 1 person to create the discord in it that makes it unsustainable. So take the time after divorce to reflect on what you learned, what you might do differently in the future, and who you want to be. Because once you get that in place, you're going to go forward with such confidence, and you can take all this experience and you can use it into creating a better life and a better relationship in the future.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mardi. Thank you for your wisdom. And thank you again for everything that you do with everything that you've been through as well to still be on this path and be helping other people. It's amazing. So thank you so much. I'm glad that we've connected. And for anybody else, obviously, all my details are below the video as well if you wanted to connect with me also. But in the meantime, Mardi, thank you very much for being with us today. And we will see you all on the next episode. Take care, everyone. Bye for now. Thank you, Mardi.
Thank you, Amanda.